we go. Welcome into our 49ers Report post-game show. Chase Senior here with you. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Niner fans took over State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, and they got to see a treat. San Francisco dominating the Arizona Cardinals. Final score 41-22. I looked at this as a must-win game for San Francisco, and they went belt to ass on Arizona from the start until the end of this ball game. Welcome back, Brock Purdy. Makes his return to the starting lineup. He played in week 1 against Seattle. Got that turf toe injury. Came back in week 4. We had not seen him since. Well, here in week 11, he starts for the Niners, and I thought he played a really good game. There are some things that the Niners need to clean up. They weren't great on third downs. This Arizona Cardinals team, offense and defense, committed a record amount of penalties, and the Cardinals shot themselves in the foot, but give credit where credit is due because San Francisco got contributions from everywhere, and they dominated this football game. And the Niners really needed to win this game here today because the teams they are trailing in the wild card hunt, the Rams as the 5 seed, the Bears as the 6 seed, the Packers as the 7 seed coming into today, all won. And obviously the Rams going to elevate to first place in the NFC West. Seahawks are going to drop down in the NFC standings, but the Niners could not afford to lose this game and in turn lose ground in the NFC playoff picture. And so entering Sunday Night Football, the Rams now go up to the number 1 seed. But of note, Philadelphia Eagles play the Detroit Lions tonight. And so the Eagles have the tiebreaker over the Rams. If Philadelphia wins, they move up to the number 1 spot. And again, what I had mentioned, those were the seeds that I referenced coming into today. Now, going into Sunday Night Football, this is how things stand. Rams in that number 1 spot, Eagles number 2, the Bears leading the NFC North at 7-3. Buccaneers lose, still in first place in the NFC South at 6-4. Then the 3 wildcard teams, Seahawks 5 seed 7-3, Lions 6 seed 6-3, Packers 7 seed at 6-3-1, and you see the Niners at 7-4 on the outside looking in, but obviously a lot of meat left on the bone as far as the season goes. But to my point, that's why it was so crucial for the Niners to win this game, and that tie that the Packers had several weeks ago against Dallas, throwing a wrench into the playoff picture here because the Niners have more wins than Green Bay. But Green Bay has that final wildcard spot because they have the better winning percentage, and this NFC continues to be riveting and fascinating. Now, I talked about how contributions came from everywhere in this football game. To start this game, Sky Moore had a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I had talked about this on the show all throughout the week, that Sky Moore, who has given this team juice as a returner, has been so close to breaking a long return. Well, he did that to start off this football game. That got things going in a positive direction for San Francisco. Then they run one offensive play. Christian McCaffrey takes it in for a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey with more than 120 all-purpose yards on the day. He had a hat trick as far as his touchdowns go. Brock Purdy's first full drive since playing in week 4 came on the Niners' second drive of the ball game, and Brock Purdy went 4 of 5 on that drive for nearly 70 yards, and he threw a beautiful 30-yard touchdown strike to George Kittle. And I think we saw today, this offense is better with Brock Purdy at the helm. And I thought that Brock Purdy looked pretty healthy in this game. I had worried if the Niners played a far less than 100% Purdy over a 100% Mac Jones, would that be the wrong decision? Clearly wasn't the wrong decision. I thought Purdy ran around a little bit. He bought some time in the pocket. He put some pressure on that foot. I thought he lacked a little bit of velocity when he had to drive throws, but as he always does, he threw with great touch. He threw with great anticipation. He processed really well. Those are all strong suits, and he played as good of a game as you could have hoped for in a game where you thought maybe he wasn't going to be 100%. Maybe he was going to have to shake off some rust. Didn't really have to shake off a lot of rust. He looked pretty fresh. This Arizona team, they committed all those penalties, and obviously that was problematic for them today. But they have been a feisty and competitive team all year. They have lost 5 games by 1 score or less. In this game, the penalties were just a massive, massive problem. And that benefited San Francisco a lot. There was one time where a Cardinals 60-yard touchdown run got wiped away because of a hold. 17 penalties for 130 yards for Arizona. And so you're going to look at some of these numbers and say, man, the Niners got outplayed. The Cardinals had 488 yards to the Niners 281. Jacoby Brissett had 452 passing yards to Purdy's 186. Niners had the edge on the ground, 95-36. On third downs, as I mentioned, Niners need to get more crisp there. 3 of 9. Arizona 6 of 14. But the big number there, the self-inflicted wounds for Arizona. 17 penalties for 130 yards. It was their most penalties in a game since the 1930s. No joke. Pretty crazy. So while the numbers skewed toward Arizona, keep in mind the Niners went up early in this game. And so the Cardinals were forced into a position, also with their penalties, but because they're also down, where they had to throw it a ton. And another big talking point for me all week was I had said, because this Niners defense is young, because this Niners defense is inexperienced, because this Niners defense, frankly, isn't that good and they're hurt, they can't stop the run, they can't get after the quarterback, they struggle in a lot of areas. From here on out until the end of the year, it is vitally important for San Francisco's offense to put this team on its shoulders and carry the load the rest of the way. And I think if the Niners offense can average around 30 points per game, it gives the defense some wiggle room. It gives the defense margin for error. They don't have a lot of that. That's what happens when you're without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And today you saw that offensive explosion. 13 points in the first quarter, 12 points in the second quarter, 10 points in the third, 6 points in the fourth. And what I loved about this win, too, it was an all-around performance for San Francisco. Brock Purdy, hat trick, threw for 3 touchdowns. George Kittle had 2 receiving touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had 3 total touchdowns. The defense didn't really generate a pass rush, and I don't think that they were great against the run. The holding call, which took away the 60-yard touchdown, that kind of changed things, obviously, too. But on defense, if you can't pressure the quarterback and you struggle in some of these key areas, what do you need to do? You need to generate turnovers. And the Niners defense all year hasn't been great at generating turnovers. This has also been a problem going all the way back to last year. When, against the Houston Texans, Deommodore Lenoir intercepted C.J. Stroud right before halftime. That was the Niners' first interception as a defense since last year when Isaac Yiadom picked off the pass, I believe in week 10. Well, today, you saw Malik Mustafa intercept Jacoby Brissett. Good play by him. Tough contested interception. You had Deommodore Lenoir pick off a pass. He nearly housed it. You had a great play along the goal line in which Curtis Robinson laid a big hit which dislodged the football, and Keion White, one of the newcomers for this Niners defense, was able to recover it. That took a touchdown off the board. So Sky Moore, 98-yard kickoff return. Brian Robinson had a 40-plus yard kickoff return. Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey pacing the offense. On defense, you were able to win the turnover battle 3-0, even though Purdy got lucky through a couple of interceptable passes. A well-rounded, all-around effort from San Francisco, which resulted in this dominant 41-22 win, which lifts the Niners to 7-4 on the season, 5-2 on the road. And obviously, this enhances their NFC resume and record as well. More to get to here for our post-game reaction, but first, today's San Francisco 49ers report brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. And PrizePicks is very simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks puts their users first. Withdrawals, fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more. And this gives you quick and easy deposits right into your account this football season. Join the millions of users. Sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app. Our 3-pick power play for today. The Christian McCaffrey receiving yards have been a go-to selection for us all year long. Well, what does McCaffrey do through the air today? 5 catches for 40 yards, but he had 121 all-purpose yards for the game. George Kittle, more than a half touchdown. He had 2. And then Trey McBride, more than 67.5 receiving yards. He had more, 115. Depending on how you play PrizePicks, you can go 2 for 3 and still win your money. So download the PrizePicks app. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So the theme of this Niners victory here today, the well-rounded effort from San Francisco. Offense, defense, special teams. I can't tell you the last time that the Niners had 2 picks in a single game. But when your defense struggles to stop the run of late in the red zone, on third downs, and they don't have a legitimate front to get after the quarterback, you got to rely on pretty much throwing a perfect game on defense. If you don't do those things, and when you win the turnover battle 3-0, that is obviously crucial and absolutely clutch. Some people are saying the defense is back. The defense still has questions. And I just worry how this defense will hold up against legitimate offenses across the NFL. You saw that last week against a team like the Rams, who beat the Seahawks today. The Seahawks were red hot. That offense with Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, good offensive line, Kyron Williams as the running back, that's an offense that is one of the top offenses in the NFL. So this defense performs well against a Cardinals team today, but how do they fare against some of the more legitimate teams across the NFL? I will say this, when the schedule came out, you're thinking that next week, week 12, Monday Night Football against the Carolina Panthers, that was going to be an easy win and a cakewalk. That game's going to be really hard. Cardinals won in a game that came down to the wire today. They have been a lot more competitive than what a lot of people predicted going into this year. They are a well-coached team, and they're in the hunt, not just as a wild card team. They could potentially win their division because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with all of their injuries, have really struggled of late. And the Panthers, I believe, have as many wins now as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so that team is going to be coming to Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara very motivated to win that football game. There was a problematic injury for the Niners today, which could be a big concern moving forward. Eddie Pinheiro left the game early because of a hamstring injury. He had an extra point blocked, and he missed an extra point today. But he is now 21 of 21 on the season with his field goal makes and attempts. And Eddie Pinheiro, once again, displayed a really strong leg in this game. He was able to connect on kicks of 48 yards, 47 yards, and 47 yards. Hamstring injury for a kicker obviously is not ideal. A hamstring injury in general to any player or person is something that could linger for a little while. The Niners have been playing in a lot of one-score games. If they're without Eddie Dinero Pinheiro for an extended period of time, and you once again have kicker questions, obviously that would be a big concern for San Francisco. There's also this. Brock Purdy and George Kittle are now number 2 all-time in quarterback to tight end touchdowns in franchise history. Goes to show you just how dynamic of a 1-2 punch they have been. Brock Purdy getting the praise from Kyle Shanahan. You just got to look at his numbers and stuff. Not many people have done it better than him. He's as efficient as anyone. He's made as many big plays as anyone, and he's led us to a lot of wins. This was a really positive step in the right direction for this Niners team and this Niners offense, and you have to feel very confident in Brock Purdy for how he played and how he looked health-wise in this game. Speaking of Pinheiro, he might have a pulled hamstring for Kyle Shanahan. They'll run tests tomorrow to see the severity of it. Kicker, hamstring, you have to worry if he's going to be able to play on Monday Night Football against the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to Diamador Lenore for gutting this game out. He was questionable with a calf injury. I thought he played pretty well. Gave up a big play downfield to Michael Wilson, but had that interception and nearly took it to the crib after he navigated through that Cardinals offense. Tatum Bethune going to need additional testing to see if he has a high ankle sprain. The Niners are really hurt at the linebacker spot. Finally, we saw Nick Martin get some snaps. Curtis Robinson, I thought, did some decent things. Luke Gifford was thrust into duty. He's more of a special teamer, but he had a big hit on a 2-point conversion for Arizona. But you lose Tatum Bethune. He had 10 tackles in 3 straight games going into this one. He's been a very productive linebacker, and you're already so hurt at the linebacker spot. Cardinals outgaining the Niners today by 207 yards, the worst yardage differential for any winning team this season. Teams who outgain their opponents by 200-plus yards had been 14-0 this year. Well, make it 14-1. Niners win, and that's what happens when you turn it over 3 times and you go down big early and you commit so many penalties like the Cardinals did. All right. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our watch party. About 80,000 views. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our post-game show. Be back in the studio early tomorrow. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. San-Fran-Cisco, 41-22 winners. Niners are 7-4.